Rick Rule for Rule Investment Media, sponsors of the Natural Resources Investment Symposium, Boca Raton, Florida, July 7 through 11. Whether you attend in person or in the convenience of your own home, we're going to generate more content than you're going to be able to consume. What we try to do with these pre-conference interviews is introduce you to our speakers and our exhibitors so that you can allocate your time more efficiently. We urge you to reach out and contact exhibitors before the conference, or at least during the conference, so that, as I say, you can allocate your time and capital more usefully. Remember, too, that every public company exhibitor at this conference has been vetted. Specifically, they need to be owned in my accounts or in accounts that I own and manage. While this is, of course, a disclosed conflict of interest, this also guarantees you that every single public company exhibitor has been vetted, a process that I don't think it occurs at any other investment conference on the planet. Today, I have the good fortune of interviewing a friend of very long standing, Paddy Nicol, CEO of Orogen. Disclosure, I am and have been a shareholder of Orogen and the predecessor companies for almost 2 decades. Paddy, thank you first of all for your efforts on behalf of shareholders, including myself, and thank you too for your ongoing sponsorship of the Natural Resources Investment Symposium.
Well, thanks for having me, Rick. Appreciate it.
Let's begin with a discussion from your point of view as CEO of the prospect generator business model and the royalty generator business model, and how you practice them for the benefit of shareholders.
Sure. Okay. Well, I guess sort of that takes us back a little bit of history into the predecessor companies that formed Orogen. And at our very core, we're prospect generators, and that is taking high quality early stage exploration assets. We find exploration partners to take on the extra risk of carrying the project forward. What we get out of it as a prospect generator is we get share payments and cash payments. And the end of each transaction that we do is we always clip a royalty. So the prospect generator business has been very successful for us. And in fact, we have 2 discoveries to our name now. And that type of transaction and all the transactions that we've done is actually what has built our royalty portfolio today. So the prospect generator business model actually flips over into our royalty business as well. And so today we've got approximately 26 royalties. Most of those have been generated by Orogen and their exploration teams, and 2 of which are very significant. One is the Ermitaño deposit, which we have a 2% royalty on an NSR down in Mexico that's now in production, provides us tremendous amount of cash flow and stability. And the other one too, which is the up and coming one, which is the Silicon, expanded Silicon as it's called now, gold project in Nevada being operated by AngloGold Ashanti. And that is proving to be a world-class gold deposit. And obviously the knock-on for us is a world-class royalty.
Our viewers need to understand that by working on the prospect generator business model, you have been able to grow the company and predecessor companies over 2 decades while issuing very little equity. You have been willing to dilute at the project level and unwilling to dilute at what I would call the knowledge level. And I think that's important for people to understand. Let's go into these individual royalties. Tell us something. Well, tell us first of all the market cap of Orogen, so people understand the juxtaposition of price to value. But then let's start by describing the Ermitaño revenue, the production life, that sort of thing.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, so yeah, market cap, we're just north of 200 million now. And that's really been driven because of the stability within the company, but obviously the performance and the growth of the expanded silicon assets. So we'll talk about Ermitaño first. This is a gold deposit down in Sonora, Mexico. This was a project that the Everum side of the predecessor companies identified back in 2011. We took it on as a very early stage asset. We worked it up to a certain degree. We did not drill it, but we identified several exploration targets. That was then vended on to First Majestic Silver, who carried it forward in 2016. They made the first discovery. That was fast-tracked into production in 2021. And so our initial investment into the project was about $100,000. So you're right. We don't spend a tremendous amount of money on generating these types of targets, but obviously the leverage to success and reward is quite significant when you have a discovery. And so that is now providing us with somewhere between $5 to $6 million a year Canadian revenue. It has made us profitable since it went into production. And so you're quite right. We have not had a financing since 2018. And so we've been now self-sufficient for many years. And so similar experience in Nevada. The Renaissance exploration team, they identified silicon back in 2014. The project was optioned out to AngloGold Ashanti in 2017. They've now drilled in excess of 300 kilometers, 300,000 meters of drilling into what's called the expanded silicon gold target. It is now in excess of 13.3 million ounces, and that continues to grow and develop. And so, both assets obviously are very important to us and provide the company with a tremendous amount of stability, but also a tremendous amount of growth potential too. So the downside risk is obviously low, and the share price appreciation you're seeing is obviously because of the success of these two key assets.
So $200 million can be explained away reasonably easily. Can you describe something about, first of all, the market, not the market cap, pardon me, but the working capital, which is to say cash, shares, other sort of assets? And then if you could describe, if you have the figures at hand, the reserves and resources at Ermitaño, so that we get a
Sure.
sense for how long this cash flow lasts. You've
Yeah.
already done the reserves and resources at Silicon, so that's
Yeah.
useful, but go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so the cash position of the company is around $20 million. And that's obviously been fueled by the profitability of the company and the cash flow. We've brought some warrants in from some previous private placements in the past. And so, so we've got a very healthy treasury in that sense. And then in regards to the Ermitaño deposit, the initial resource was approximately 1 million ounces of gold equivalent when you factor in the gold and silver. But this was based only on the M&I resources. So we weren't including inferred resources in the initial pre-feasibility that was put out in 2021. Since then, First Majestic has continued on to move inferred resources, to convert inferred resources into that M&I status. And so what we're seeing is, though the mine life has been depleting over the past 3 years, it's actually been augmented by existing inferred resources. So we still sort of see that sort of 6-year plus mine life. And beyond that, the royalty AOI that we have in that region is actually 167 square kilometers. It's not just on one deposit. And so we expect that the opportunity to add additional resources in the future is actually quite significant. And you look at a lot of these operations that you see throughout Mexico, and they typically have sort of 3 to 5 to 7 years type of mine life, but that keeps on continuing because they keep finding additional resources as they go along. So we do expect to see the mine life at Ermitaño grow, significantly beyond where we see it today. There's tremendous opportunity down there.
So, Paddy, in summary, I would argue, and you don't need to concur or not, that the market capitalization of the company is explained away fairly adequately by cash and royalties. And what you get for free are a whole bunch of other exploration targets funded by other people, and a team that has for 2 decades been able to grow the business without diluting shareholder funds. If my attendees are interested in this value proposition, who at the company might they contact, and how might they contact that person?
Well, I'm very happy to have anybody call me or talk to me, email me. My email is Paddy, Paddy, at OrogenRoyalties.com. I'm always available. Marco Locascio can also be reached. He's Marco, Marco, at Orogen Royalties. We'll both be at the conference coming up in July. But we're happy to talk to shareholders, interested investors in the meantime.
Paddy, thank you for 2 decades of hard work on behalf of shareholders, especially me, of course. Thank you, too, for your ongoing sponsorship, both of the Investors Boot Camp and the Natural Resources Investment Symposium. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thanks very much, Rick, for having the company, and look forward to seeing you in July.
Great.